Alright everybody, welcome to my channel and my bedroom. So it's taken me many months to finally start this channel, and it's taken me 12 minutes to start recording. Anyways, I'm here, and whoever you are here, and I thank you for joining me. For a long time now, I've had a fascination with true crime. And when I say for a long time, I mean like my earliest memories growing up are of watching America's Most Wanted with my mom, and Forensic Files and Unsolved Mysteries, and also shows like CSI, Law and Order, Criminal Intent. Law and Order SVU is my favorite show ever. So I've just always been fascinated by stories of humans who can do such inhuman things. And in order to start this channel, I thought I would take it back to 1995. And this is the story of the beautiful Selena. She was born in 1971 in the state of Texas, and she was the youngest child of Marcela and Abraham Quintanilla. Abraham, it seems like, really was the musician of the family, and long before Selena was even born. I think what I read was like the 70s and 80s, but I might be wrong. But I think it was like in the 70s. He was already performing with a band, and the focus of that band was Tejano music. Tejano music is a very interesting blend of influences. It's a blend of Mexican, European, and US influence. And what happened was that in the 1800s, there was a huge influx of migrants, Polish, Czech, and Germans. They migrated to Texas and Mexico. And with them, they brought their own style of music. They brought their own instruments. So music, it was like polkas, and the instruments that they brought was like the accordion. Musicians at that time living in Mexico and Texas then really, I guess, liked this new style that they were hearing, and then so they tried to incorporate these foreign sounds and styles into their own music, and thus Tejano music was born. And even a little bit later, like in the mid-1900s, it seemed Tejano music kept evolving because rock and roll and country music was also being mixed with all this huge blend of music that is Tejano. And so it just kept growing. It kept evolving, which I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't know too much about Tejano music. I knew what Tejano music was before, but I didn't know how it came to be. And I don't know, I think it's pretty interesting. So I thought I'd throw it in there. But anyways, going back to Abraham. Abraham is Selena's dad. So it seems that music really seemed to be his passion. And it seemed like he was just naturally gifted. You know, some people are naturally gifted when it comes to music or languages or, art. It seemed like he was musically inclined, and it came easy to him from what I could tell, in my opinion. So it seemed that he did his best to instill and to share that love and passion that he had for music with his children. So he taught his son Abraham the third. He taught him the bass, I believe. And then Suzette, who they call Susie, they taught her the drums, which I think is pretty cool. I tried to play the drums before. It wasn't good. Anyways, so once Abraham learned or realized that Selena could sing, because at first she didn't really want to. I'm not sure why. I know some sources say that she was shy, but I'm not sure. I don't know if that's true. But anyways, She was hesitant at first, but once she got going, it seemed that she really like fell in love with it, and she found herself really enjoying it and loving the feel of, singing to a crowd of people, even though in the beginning it was just the family. But I mean, she loved it. So, another interesting thing that a lot of people know actually is that Selena didn't speak Spanish when she was young, which is interesting because, like my family, I think we had kind of the same thing happen. My nieces and nephews still, to this day, they don't speak Spanish, and they've tried, poor things, but they just can't. I don't know. Spanish is a hard language. Coming from somebody who speaks Spanish, I still mess up a lot. Anyways, where was I? So Selena didn't speak Spanish when she was young, and since her father was writing Spanish language songs for her, or not for her, for the band, the family band, Selena had to actually memorize the words phonetically, the words to the songs, and that's really hard to do. I've tried to do it with like French songs. Oh man, it's really hard. At least for me, it's really hard. Anyways, she did eventually learn how to speak Spanish, as many of you already know. In 1980, Abraham opened a restaurant called Papagayos. The word means parrots in Spanish. And the family band would regularly perform there, which I thought was really cute. I could imagine it. I wish I would have been there to see it. Anyways, unfortunately, the restaurant, it didn't last very long. I guess, and I hadn't heard of this before, but I guess what happened was that a really bad recession hit a certain part of Texas in 1981. And the restaurant was unfortunately forced into foreclosure and it went bankrupt. And so, the family decided to just pack up and move. And they moved from Lake Jackson, I believe, where Selena was born, to Corpus Christi, Texas. And it was here in Corpus Christi where Selena would gain her popularity and achieve mainstream success. It's a little bit later though. By the age of 11, the band opened up for a popular Tejano band. And I don't know if I mentioned this, I probably didn't, but the band now is called Los Dinos, Selena y Los Dinos, because Selena was the one who was, at the forefront of the band. She was the singer. So the band was called Selena y Los Dinos. So by the age of 11, Selena y Los Dinos, when she was 11, sorry, I misspoke. When Selena was 11, the band was opening up for a popular Tejano band, and it seemed that the crowds just immediately loved her. I mean, I think they could tell just the enjoyment that she got out of it. They could see her passion. I don't know exactly what it was. I'm guessing because she was a very passionate person. She seemed like a very genuine person, but she also seemed like a dynamic person. And I think, that translated into her performance, even at such a young age. I think people could already see that this girl had something. She had the it factor. She was talented. She could sing. She could really sing. And she was so small, 11 years old. But anyways, the crowds, they loved her. And, obviously, what's not to love? But this is when, or around this time, is when she would really start focusing on music. And by the time she was in 8th grade, I believe, she got so busy with traveling and performing that she actually stopped going to school entirely, but continued her education and earned her GED, I believe, in 1989. So now that the band was starting to find a little bit of success, they decided that it was time to start recording. So after signing with 2 record labels that didn't end up being so fruitful, they signed a yearly contract with GP Records. It was their album Muñequito de Trapo, which means ragdoll, which started the launch of their popularity, and it actually got them featured on the Tejano Music Awards. And Selena won Female Vocalist of the Year award, which I read that she would move on to win 8 more times, which is actually pretty darn cool. In 1989, Selena would be about 18 years old by this time, and the guy who headed up and the guy who headed up the EMI record label, his name was Jose Bihar. He was so impressed with her performance and the way that she was easily able to captivate the audience and engage them. I mean, she was a natural, and he saw it. So he went on to sign her to his label, EMI Records, and he signed her on as a solo artist, but her band, Los Dinos, continued to play alongside her. So it was still Selena y Los Dinos. Enter Chris Perez. Chris was born in 1969 in San Antonio, Texas, and from a young age, it's so interesting because you kind of see the parallel of, Chris and Selena growing up, because Chris, also from a very young age, you could see how musically inclined he was. He learned how to play the French horn in school, and I think it's the source that I read said that he taught himself the electric guitar, which is, that's crazy. And he was also, from a young age, a fan of a lot of musicians. Among his favorite musicians were Iron Maiden, Van Halen, Def Leppard, and it seems that he also took a lot of inspiration from the musician Carlos Santana when he was playing the guitar, because that makes sense because Carlos Santana is known for his guitar playing, and he's really good. So that makes sense. Now, Selena's brother, who's also named Abraham, and I know that gets confusing because the dad's name is Abraham, but Selena's brother Abraham, we'll call him AB because that's what he goes by actually. He goes by AB Quintanilla, I think, something like that. AB, I know for sure it's AB. So AB was on a mission to replace the band's guitarist. I don't remember why. I think it had something to do with his family, but don't quote me on that because I don't remember. But for whatever reason, the guitarist that they already had to leave. And so he actually invited Chris to join. I think, okay, from what I read, there was kind of a couple different stories. But from one of them said that AB had heard about him or had known him because Chris played with another band before. And so he had, and it was also a Tejano band. So I think he had known of him. I don't think he knew him, but I think he knew of him because they were all kind of in the same community or the same part of the industry. And I read that he actually went to go see Chris perform and then offered him the position in the band as the guitarist. But I also saw somewhere it said that they were friends. They were already friends when he offered him the position. I'm not sure which one is true. I'm more inclined to believe that AB had known of Chris because they kind of ran in the same circles. And went to see him perform, and obviously this kid can perform. He's a natural musician, like Selena was. And he liked what he saw. And one source also said that Chris came to somewhere, I don't know if it was their home. I believe it was their home, to Selena's family's home, to interview, I guess. And that's when AB asked him to join. I really don't know. The details are a little bit murky, and some sources say slight variations of the same story. The point was, Chris was asked to join the band by AB. He really wanted him. Sources say that allegedly, Selena's dad didn't like him. I guess he had a certain image in his mind about what he wanted his daughter to be or to like portray. I don't know. He didn't like Chris's style. His rock and roll style. But after some convincing from AB, Abraham, dad, eventually allowed Chris to join the band. And it's really nice because it seems that AB and Chris ended up having a really good friendship after this. So Chris and Selena, it was really cute because I saw an interview where he said that at first he saw Selena as just one of the guys. But in the same sentence, he also said, like, of course I thought she was beautiful. And I'm like, anyways, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Of course, he's going to see her as more than one of the guys. She was amazing. She was Selena. I mean, come on. Eventually, after getting close, getting to know each other, Chris and Selena really fell for each other, which I think is just the cutest thing ever. Because, they were such talented people. They both were. And they were such, I don't know, dynamic characters, I guess. Just two people who shared the same passion. And Chris and Selena, they begin a relationship. But Selena knew that her dad, or she kind of figured that her dad would disapprove. I think maybe because of how he initially didn't really like Chris for the band. I think she figured, well, if he doesn't like him for the band, he's going to not like him anymore to date his daughter, I guess. Anyway, so figuring and assuming that her dad would disapprove, which, spoiler alert, he didn't like it. But anyways, we're not there yet. Chris and Selena, I guess, decided to keep their relationship a secret, but that never works. So what happened was Selena's sister, Susie, became Susie the snitch, and she told Dad what was happening, and Dad was not happy. He was not having it. He even told them, I think, he would break up the band. He would end things, I guess, if they didn't stop. So some sources say Chris decided to leave the band because of all the chaos that was happening. Some sources that I read said that Chris was fired. Either way, I don't know which one is accurate, but he was gone. He left. I don't know, probably not willingly. I don't know. Anyways, he left. And Selena, obviously, I mean, she was distraught. She was hurt. I'm sure she felt it was unfair, which, I mean, it kind of was. They were both adults. Selena was a good girl. Chris seemed like a good guy. I mean, well, there were a couple incidents with Chris, but I mean, he was, 19, 20? I don't remember. He was a kid. They were both kids, I guess. in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. Anyways, we'll just gloss over that. So, Selena wasn't one to give up. She knew what she wanted, and she was going to get it, just like in her music career. She knew what she wanted, and she went after it with everything that she had. So that's what happened with her and Chris. She went to his, I guess, hotel room, and I guess, allegedly, she was like banging on the door. She pushed her way in, and she told Chris that she wanted to get married. And Chris was like, no, but your dad is, your dad's not going to like that. He doesn't want us dating, much less getting married. And Selena said, well, allegedly, this is what I read. She said, well, I mean, he's going to be unhappy either way. So why not just do what we want then? And well, that made sense to Chris. And so they decided to go they went and got married. And you can actually find pictures of their little wedding ceremony, or the ceremony that they had to get married. And they look so happy. She looks so happy and beautiful. And you can tell that they were just over the moon for each other. And I think that's something, I don't know, it's so beautiful to see. Anyways, so they eloped, right, on April 2nd of 1992. And so they figured that was probably not the time to break the news to the family, or I guess to the dad. I'm pretty sure he had to have been still upset for them to think that, that was probably not a good time for them to do that. Anyways, what was I saying? Okay, so yeah, so the plan after the elopement was to keep the news to themselves until they found maybe a better moment or a good moment, until they found a good moment to share their good news. But again, this didn't go as planned. And this time it wasn't because of Susie. Susie, the snitch, did not snitch this time because she didn't know either. Somehow, though, news, as it always does, got to the reporters, I guess, and in just a few hours after the secret ceremony, it was being broadcast on the radio. That sucks. So I believe that's how Selena's family found out, and thus Selena's dad. From what I read, he was so upset that he had to physically isolate himself for a little bit. Eventually, though, it seems that he came to his senses and maybe realized and saw how happy she was with Chris, and he decided to go find them both, which probably scared them at first when they saw him at their door. Not gonna lie, I'd be scared. But he did find them. I think it was at their new apartment. I don't know if it was a hotel or if it was their new apartment. I can't remember. But the point is, he went and he found them. And he actually apologized, which I think is huge. Especially for an overprotective dad, But he apologized to them and welcomed Chris back into the fold, I guess. Not just into the band, but into the family now as well. So it's kind of an interesting story, bittersweet, I guess. But it had a sweet ending. The dad accepted Chris and ended up seeing him like a son-in-law. And they would go, Chris and Selena would go on to have a really happy marriage up until her death just 3 years later in 1995. So by this time of her marriage, Selena was already kind of a pretty big deal. Obviously, if the radio was talking about her secret ceremony, her secret marriage, if they were broadcasting it, that means she was on people's radar already. And, people wanted to know more about her. So, she was gaining more and more popularity with each day that passed. She even became a spokesperson for Coca-Cola, which is pretty cool. In 1990, her Ven Conmigo album, which was a mix of cumbias and rancheras, it sold more than 500,000 copies. And this, I guess, was before Chris was even part of the band. I think this was slightly before. Maybe. Yes, I think so. So yeah, more than 500,000 copies sold, which according to the Recording Industry Association of America, that was hard to say for some reason. According to this organization or association, this certified the album as gold. So, I mean, that's pretty big. In 1993, Selena put out her first live album, and it was just titled Live, and it was recorded apparently at El Coliseo Memorial in Corpus Christi. I think I said that right. And honestly, if you listen to the album, her voice is just so impressive. Her voice and her energy is so impressive. Anyways, that album ended up winning her a Grammy the next year in 1994. And apparently, what I read is that she was the first female Tejano artist to achieve this. 1994 is also the same year that her album Amor Prohibido came out. This album to this day is one of my favorite albums. I would probably say top 15, maybe top 10, top 15. I don't know. It's one of my favorite albums. And it's such a nostalgic album for me. And I think for many of us, if not all of us, it's such a nostalgic album and so many great memories of growing up with my mom and my older sister are really tied to this album. And it's really nice. This album was also Grammy nominated, and it eventually reached double platinum status. I'm not sure when this happened, but that's what I read, that eventually it reached double platinum status, as well as landing the 29th spot on the Billboard 200. Let me see. Yeah, on the Billboard 200. I don't know what I'm doing. On the Billboard 200. The album had classic hits in addition to Amor Prohibido, which I think everybody knows. The song also, the album also has No Me Queda Más, Fotos y Recuerdos, El Chico del Apartamento 512, Biri Biri Bom Bom, which, I mean, is just a great song. Everybody loves that song. I'm pretty sure everybody loves that song. Tecnocumbia, which was an interesting song, but I mean, it worked. I don't know. I like Tecnocumbia. Let me know if you like it too. Of course you do. Well, I don't know. I like it. And then Si Una Vez, which is such an amazing song. I don't know, man. They're all good. It's just a great album. At the end of 1994, Selena got to work creating her Dreaming of You album, and this was a special album for her because this album would be her foray into the English market. Because up until that point, really, it had only been Spanish songs up until then. And in an interview with MTV in early 95, I think, late 94, early 95, I think, she said that she felt like this album would be like her starting all over again because She wasn't really known in the English market. I don't, yeah, she wasn't. She wasn't known in the English market yet. And just a little piece of information that I thought was interesting was that the writers of the song Dreaming of You were Fran Gold and Tom Snow. And it's interesting because Francine, her name is Francine Gold, Fran Gold, she was already an established songwriter. Up until now, from what I could see, and of course, don't quote me, but from what I could see, she has worked with musicians like Pussycat Dolls, Jessica Simpson, Christina Aguilera. Who else? Whitney Houston, the Commodores. Diana Ross, I think, was one of them too. I think. She also, I guess, co-wrote a song called Don't Look Any Further, and I guess that song has been sampled by a lot of artists, including Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., Snoop Dogg, Lauryn Hill. Who is the other one? I don't remember who the other one was. There were many, actually. I don't remember all of them, but a lot of artists. And then Tom Snow, who was the co-creator of the song, the co-writer, I guess. He was also well-known and well-respected in the industry. And I looked him up on IMDb, and he's credited with so many things. It was a long list of credits to his name. But those included like the movie Footloose, for the song Let's Hear It for the Boy. I think Oliver and Company, which is a really cute movie. I really love that movie. Anyways, Oliver and Company, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, a Goofy movie, classic. Bruce Almighty, also a great movie. Anyways, so many others. You know, if you want to look him up on IMDb and read through that list, you'll see this guy obviously knew what he was doing. He has a pretty impressive, I guess, roster of you know, projects he's worked on. IMDb also shows that he's been, I think, nominated for 2 Oscars and 2 Grammys. So that's pretty cool. And it was just, you know, an interesting little tidbit, I guess. And it was interesting to me, at least. Anyways, these 2 obviously very talented people. Very, I guess, experienced in the industry. They initially wrote this song for an R&B group, and I don't remember what the R&B group's name was. Yeah, I don't remember, but it was for a different group, and they actually passed on it. But Francine was known not to be one who gave up easily at all. It was kind of like Selena, if you think about it. So Francine eventually got the demo tape to Selena. And it was perfect timing because Selena, when she received it and she first listened to it, that's actually when she was working on this album that would be like a crossover English album, or it would be a mix of English and Spanish songs. So she was in the market for an English language song. And honestly, if there's any doubt in your mind, which there can't be, in my opinion, there can't be. But if there's any doubt in your mind about Selena's musical talents, I want you to listen to the song Dreaming of You. Listen to how dreamy and ethereal her voice sounds. Her voice is just beautiful in the song. But I want you to listen to it and realize that at the time of the recording, she was actually sick with bronchitis. And she still decided to give it a go. With encouragement from her father, since I guess some producers had traveled to Texas, I think from LA, Don't quote me on that. But they had traveled to Texas specifically to watch her record this track. Anyways, as many of you may know, if you've ever had bronchitis before, it's horrible. It's a respiratory infection, which makes the bronchial tubes swell up. The bronchial tubes are the tubes that direct air to and from the lungs. So they swell up, they become swollen, and it also produces a really thick mucus that you keep coughing up. It's disgusting. It tastes terrible. I've had it many times and I hate it. It's not a good time. It's not fun at all. So you're constantly coughing up this thick mucus that's, lining the walls, and it's irritating you. And it also gives you shortness of breath. So I don't know how she was able to do it, but she did it. She sang her heart out. And even with being this sick, she performed so well that the producers decided they didn't need to hear anymore. They accepted the first take. That's amazing. So the recording was done on March 5th. And the sad part is, though, that, Selena, just 26 later, would be gone and wouldn't be able to see, I guess, the fruit of her labor. So anyways, for this next part of the story, we're going to shift a little bit, and we're going to go back to before Selena was born. It's 1960, and a woman named Yolanda Saldivar was born. She was the youngest of 8 children, and allegedly she had a hard time in school and was also the target of a lot of bullying from her peers because of her weight. And apparently, allegedly, she was she felt very alone and very isolated because of this. Isolated from, her peers. And in her high school years, it seems like things may have picked up a little bit. I'm not sure when the bullying happened. I couldn't find information that stated exactly when. Perhaps in her elementary school years, maybe. I don't remember, actually. Anyways, by high school, things seemed, to look up a little bit. High school, maybe she started branching out a little bit, because it said that she joined the ROTC, the junior ROTC. And I guess in '85, she was accepted to Texas University. And I think she had transferred to another school too, but I don't remember which one it was. But anyways, by the end of 1990, she would have her bachelor degree in nursing, her Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Texas A&M. And the same year, 1990, she received her license as a registered nurse for the Texas Board of Nurse Examiners, which I'm sure is a feat in itself because, from what I've heard about nursing school, it's not easy. So she was obviously a smart woman. She was married, and apparently or allegedly, she had adopted 3 children, and one of which was her niece. Allegedly. I didn't find too much information on her husband and her kids. I searched, and I still haven't really been able to find much on them. But if any of you have any insight on that, or any information you'd like to share, go ahead and put it down in the comments. I would love to read about that. Anyways, going in a little bit further down the timeline, it seems that Yolanda was no stranger to legal troubles. One of her employers, who was a dermatologist, I believe, he actually sued her for about $9,000, a little more maybe. And he alleged that she stole that money from him, which is interesting. It's a little bit of foreshadowing, I guess. Anyways, that case appears to have been settled out of court. But in less than 2 months, I think she was back in court. And this time it was because she failed to repay allegedly a student loan of over $7,000. From what I could read, it also seemed like she bounced around jobs a bit. And it makes sense because I guess eventually she would allegedly say that she lost interest in the healthcare field completely. It was around this time, though, that she started taking a liking to Tejano music. I mean, it was gaining a lot of popularity, and a lot of it was thanks to Selena. So she starts liking the music, and then she actually goes to a concert of another artist in the Tejano music industry. Her name was Shelly Lares, and what's interesting is that Selena's husband, Chris, was actually in Lares' band before joining Selena y Los Dinos. I'm assuming that that's who AJ went to see him perform with, I guess, when he was looking for a new member to join the band or to replace the guitarist. I'm assuming, I think. Makes sense. But anyways, Yolanda goes to Shelly's concert, and from what I read, I guess she actually approached the artist. I think it was the artist. I don't know. See, I don't know if it was in person or if it was over the phone. I'm not sure, but the point is she contacts Shelly and she asks her if she can start a fan club. And Shelly's father smartly denied that request. And allegedly he said, or he told her, that he only wanted family members working around his daughter, which is smart. It's a smart move. My personal opinion, I think he may have gotten a weird vibe from Yolanda. Intuition, maybe, I don't know. But the point is, he didn't want her near his family, which was a good call. Yolanda moved on, eventually found herself at one of Selena's concerts, and again, like she did with Shelly Lares, she approached Selena's father to ask him to start a fan club. Now, in an interview, or in a piece of an interview that I saw, Abraham, the dad, was saying that she actually called him quite a few times. I'm pretty sure he said over 10, but I can't remember what the number was that he gave. But she called him again and again and again to ask him to start a fan club, and he eventually just, I guess, gave in. This woman was persistent, and remember, she was a smart woman. So I think that I think Yolanda manipulated him, and we know that she's a smart woman. And now, knowing what we know about her, it makes sense. It's been said that she was a very manipulative woman, allegedly. And I believe it. That's my opinion. Anyways, Selena's father agrees to it, and, he figures, if anything, it'll probably help Selena's career to have a fan club. They'll gain more momentum, more popularity, and, that makes sense. So he agreed. She was persistent. So she becomes the president of the Selena fan club. Apparently, Yolanda would get a promotion to, I guess, the manager of Selena's clothing boutiques is what I read. But I also saw an interview that she actually kind of became like Selena's personal assistant. So she was there at her appearances, and helping with her schedule, I guess, things like that. And, you know, she got what she wanted. She wanted to be right by her side, and that's what ended up happening. Because I believe from the interview that I saw, it said that Selena asked her to become her personal assistant. I guess, you know, Yolanda had been taking care of so many things for her that, you know, Selena started to depend on her and trust her. And, you know, it's been said many times that Selena was a very trusting person. And I think partly that has to do with, you know, just her kindness. She was a kind person in general. You know, didn't automatically assume bad things from people, but also I feel like it was a reflection of who she was. She was a trustworthy person, so she reflected that into the people around her, the people that she saw. And so she felt trust towards Yolanda. A short time later, Selena's father, Abraham, would allege, just like in the past with her past employer, the dermatologist, he would allege that she was actually embezzling money from the fan club. Some sources said that it was like $30,000. Some sources didn't state the amount at all. I think it was $30,000. I'm not 100% sure, but anyways, allegedly, according to Selena's dad, she was stealing money. I don't know how they really found out. I'm not sure on that, but, you know, that's what he said, and that's what he felt. So she was fired. But the problem was that she still had in her possession some important financial documents. Because of those financial documents that Yolanda still had, I guess Selena was asking for those documents, and from what I could tell, it seemed like she was delaying giving them to her. That's what it seemed like, but I guess on the Friday morning of March 31st, 1995, they had a plan to meet. Selena would go to Yolanda's motel room. And this is a part of the story where I heard two different things, or I read two different things. One that I read was that the night before they had spoke, the night before, allegedly, and Yolanda had told Selena that she had been raped in Mexico and beaten. And Selena told her that she would take her to the hospital the next morning. Another resource that I found said that it kind of made it seem like on that morning, Friday, March 31st, that it made it seem that that's when Yolanda told her that she had been raped, and that's when Selena took her to the hospital. I'm not sure which one is accurate, but the point is, allegedly, Yolanda told Selena that she had been raped, Selena being the kind person that she was, and probably still feeling, you know, a kind of empathy, because up until now, Yolanda was one of her closest, I don't want to say friends, but she was in her close circle of people. She's meerkatting. She wants food. I mean, I can imagine that, you know, Selena cared about her and probably still had that, I don't know if I would say love, but I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but she was a kind person. So, so Selena and Yolanda are now at the hospital. I'm not sure which hospital it was. I just read that it was like a local hospital. But anyways, they're at the hospital. And I'm not exactly sure what tests were done or if there was a rape kit collected, but allegedly the professionals at this hospital said that there were no signs of, or no evidence, I guess, of rape. So it seems to me that it just seems like Yolanda kept wanting to delay and postpone handing the documents over, which doesn't make sense to me. Why wouldn't she just give them to her? I don't know. Maybe it's because these financial documents could possibly contain evidence that she actually was embezzling from the fan club. I really don't know. But it's weird that she wouldn't just hand them over. I mean, you don't work for them anymore. Just give them the papers that they need. Or maybe it was that, she is an obsessive person and she was obsessed with Selena, that maybe she felt like those papers that she had were her last connection to Selena, because, I mean, obviously the family didn't want her around anymore. Selena wouldn't want her around anymore if she was in fact stealing, which that's what they thought. So I'm not sure why she didn't hand them over. The point is, she didn't want to. Anyways, they leave the hospital. They get back to the motel, and again, Selena asks for the documents. This time, however, Yolanda allegedly, according to her confession, according to her confession, she said that that's when she handed Selena, I guess, a briefcase containing the documents, the financial paperwork, I guess, plus a cell phone. And I'm not sure if this was a company phone that they had provided to her. I'm gonna assume that it was, because why would she be handing that over if it wasn't, if it was just a personal phone? But I'm not sure. So she gave this stuff to Selena, and Selena turned to leave, I guess. And that's when Yolanda Saldivar, at just before 11:50 a.m., she would take out of her purse a 5-shot 38 caliber revolver, and she'd shoot Selena in the back from an estimated minimum distance of 2 feet. It seems the bullet struck Selena just below her right shoulder blade, and it came out of her upper right chest, hitting a major artery along the way. That's hard to talk about. So Selena runs out of the room. She drops everything. She drops the briefcase of papers. She drops the cell phone. And she drops her purse along the way. The layout of the motel, from what I can remember, and if I have a picture, which I think I had one from Univision, I had found one, but if I still have it, I'll figure out a way to place it right there. But from the layout, it seems like Yolanda's hotel was in one corner, and then it was kind of diagonal to the lobby, or the reception desk, or the reception office, I'm not sure. So it was her room, and then diagonal was like the parking lot, and then at this end over here was the lobby. We'll call it the lobby. I think it was the lobby. Anyways, Selena runs out. She runs across the parking lot. I think she passed her truck. She runs all the way to the motel's lobby, which was approximately think almost 400 feet away. And just before she collapsed, she was able to say to, the people who, I know the manager was there, the motel manager was there, but she was able to utter the words, "Yolanda, room 158," and then she fainted. So the manager calls 911. The ambulance comes and Selena is rushed to the hospital. And that's when the doctors there realize that this is a lot worse. It's not good. They realize exactly how much damage was done. So in addition to tearing the major artery, which already is a big enough problem as it is, the bullet seems to have also torn through one of her lungs and another vein. So not a good situation. And sadly and tragically, about an hour later, Selena was pronounced dead. And this obviously sent shockwaves, honestly, throughout the nation. Fans were devastated and they were angered. And I actually remember, I remember watching the news. I was small. I was really small, but I remember watching it in my sister's room. She had a tiny little TV with little bunny ears, the antennas. And I remember watching the news with my mom and my sister, and the rest of my family was there. And I've never been to Texas. I'm not one to listen to Tejano music. None of us were, but we love Selena. She made us love the music. She made us fall in love with the culture again. And I remember very vividly, even though I was very small, I remember hearing it on the news. So obviously, it was just devastating. I can't even imagine her family. Oh, man. Selena had become more than just a singer, more than just an artist at this point. Sorry, I know I'm losing the light. I'm going to try and wrap this up really quick. Selena was more than just her music at this point. She was a representation to the Latin community as the first Latina to really enter the mainstream music world. And I remember growing up, and one of the reasons I fell in love with her the first place was because it was interesting, it was fascinating to see somebody on the screen making it big, somebody who looked like us, who spoke like us. And so there was just that connection, and she had such a strong connection to her fans. And people fell in love with not only her talent, but her kindness and her grace, and really just how genuine she was. If you watch any of her concerts, or just watch any of the interviews that she gave, you can see how genuine of a person she was. She really was. And that's rare these days. It really is. Selena had an open casket funeral that was also open to the public. I guess the family felt that Selena did have such a strong connection to her fans, and they wanted to maintain that even after she was gone. There is video, and there is video of her funeral, and honestly, watching her family and her husband, Chris, it breaks your heart. There is, like I said, there is video of the funeral online if you want to see it for see it for yourself, but just keep in mind that it was an open casket funeral, and there are images of that in the footage, so keep that in mind. Thousands of people made their way to Corpus Christi, where Selena was buried. And before her casket was lowered to the ground, those in attendance left on top of the casket hundreds of white roses, which were her favorite flower. And that's there's images of that too, and it's a beautiful sight to see. That one by one they just left her the rose. Selena was buried in her iconic purple jumpsuit at the Seaside Memorial Park in Corpus Christi, Texas, on April 3rd, 1995, less than 2 weeks before her 24th birthday. She was really young. Yolanda Saldivar was sentenced to life in prison on October 23rd, 1995. She would be eligible for parole in 30 years, which is coming up just 5 short years from now. It seems that she received many death threats from fellow inmates who were fans of Selena. And so the decision was made to place her in isolation. And honestly, there's a certain irony in the fact that at the beginning of her life, Yolanda would complain about being lonely and isolated by her peers, and now, because of her own actions, she was once again alone and isolated. I guess poetic justice, maybe, I don't know. Throughout the years of her incarceration, Yolanda has maintained that the shooting was accidental. This was debunked by prosecutors in her trial by the fact that the particular type of revolver that she used required about 11 pounds of pressure in order to fire, which is not something that can be done accidentally. She also tried saying that she allegedly had evidence that Selena was cheating on Chris and was planning to run away with this man and leave music altogether. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, I think Yolanda was aware of just how much she was hated by everybody, and she felt that if she smeared Selena's name or make Selena seem less likable, that would in turn make Yolanda less hated. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Another interesting point to make is that in addition to the briefcase of financial documents, a cell phone, and Selena's purse that she dropped while running for help, that Selena dropped while running for help, another briefcase and another cell phone was found in Yolanda's motel room. I'm not sure what these documents contain, but it's possible that it could be evidence, maybe, of Yolanda again embezzling from the fan club that maybe she wanted to make sure Selena didn't get her hands on. Maybe, I really don't know. It's hard to rationalize something that has no reason. I don't know. It's possible that she knew eventually the family would realize that certain documents were missing that she hadn't handed over, and maybe those had evidence of her thefts, and that's why she did what she did. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason. Honestly, there's no excuse. It doesn't even matter at this point. Another point that the prosecution presented to debunk Yolanda saying it was an accident was that Yolanda was a trained nurse. Remember, she had her Bachelor of Science in nursing. She had worked in that field for quite a bit of time. Yet, she didn't try to help Selena after she shot her. You would think that if she had shot her accidentally, which doesn't make any sense, but if she had shot her accidentally, her instinct as a trained nurse would be to help, right? To help save her life, to help stop the bleeding. She would know how, possibly. But she didn't try to help, and she didn't even call 911. She just, I think I had read in some reports, she ran after her, calling her the B word, which is interesting. And not interesting in the good way. So even with all this evidence, Yolanda has tried to get a new trial, allegedly claiming that some evidence had been withheld from her defense team at the time of the trial. And allegedly this evidence includes a baseball cap, I think, and a pair of white sneakers. But her petition was denied or dismissed because she had filed it the wrong way or in the wrong court. Either way, it was dismissed. And honestly, because of her attempt at new trials and how she's tried to slander Selena's name even after killing her, years after too, she's done this. She's claimed this more than once, I'm sure. She's tried to slander her name. You can really see that, in my opinion, at least, she feels absolutely no remorse for what she did. But anyways, Selena never got to finish her last album, Dreaming of You, but it was released posthumously in 1995, and it was obviously an instant hit. It was always going to be a hit. It topped the charts. Time magazine, I believe, listed it in their top 10 posthumous albums, and BT actually declared it the third best posthumous album of all time, which is amazing. And we can see how Selena's legacy has been kept alive throughout the years. She's never forgotten by her family, her friends, or her fans. Since her untimely death, murals have been made in her honor. Makeup collections have been launched in her name. A 1997 biopic was made about her life, starring Jennifer Lopez. I believe a museum was also dedicated to her and was built by her family. And in 2017, she received her very much deserved star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Netflix has also revealed, I believe, that a series focused on Selena is in the works. So it's nice to see that, decades later, because I believe this year, 2020, is the 25th anniversary of when we lost her. It's really nice to see how we're not letting her collectively, we are not letting her star fade, in a sense. She was a special person, and special people are not forgotten easily. And I think, her name will still be spoken decades to come. And I'm happy to see that, she still is touching so many hearts. It's really nice to see. Anyways, like I said in the beginning, this is episode 1 in the series. I'm not sure what I'm going to call the series, but I want it to do with, obsessive fans of celebrities and whatnot. I don't know what I'm going to call it, though. I'll figure that out later. I have lost light. I know that, so I'm going to wrap things up. I thank you for being here with me to listen about this case of Selena. It's a very special one to me, and I thought it would be fitting for it to be my first topic, I guess, for my channel. Selena will always hold a special place in my heart, as she will with so many of you. Anyways, I hope to have another video up soon. It's going to be a mystery, an unsolved mystery, and it's going to be part of another series on this channel that I'm probably going to name Midweek Mystery? I don't know. What else starts with an M? Monday Mystery? No, that sounds weird. Anyways, we'll figure that out later. Thanks for being here, and hope to see you again soon.